Hello, everyone. I'm Luna Willows,
And I'm Jenna Pierce. We would love to welcome you to our podcast, The Flow of Ink.
which is a great place where we take our writing life day by day and our stories page by page.
So why don't you sit back, relax, and stay for a bit while we have a chat.
We don't currently have any questions, so we will jump right into today's episode. Well, welcome. We are doing an amazing couple of chapter readings from Jenna's book that is coming out, Finding Dakota. Ooh. So before we jump into our first chapter, I'd like to give you guys an idea about what went into her developing the setting for the story. So I shall ask you, Jenna, how did you go about developing the setting?
Well, interestingly enough, the setting of the location of Novus Bay is inspired by a fictional beach town of a television show that I used to watch, along with a little blending of San Diego's year-round sunny beach weather. I did spend 2 years out in San Diego, so it kind of has a little bit of that vibe to it, but Novus Bay, California is the fictional town in my book. It is Southern California, and it has really blossomed and become so much more to me in its own unique ways. It really speaks for itself. Like, I totally wish I lived in Novus Bay, honestly.
Yes, me too.
It's my fictional home away from home in reality. So, I guess it'll have to be good enough for me, even though I did spend 2 years out in California, so that's good enough for me.
I've never been. My fiance lived there for a little while, and I'm jealous. I have never been to a beach, and I would love to go.
It's really awesome living in a beach town.
Yeah. So why don't we get into the introduction chapter for Kaylin?
All right, everyone. So, Kaylin Dakota is one of the two main characters. She is actually Dakota of Finding Dakota, but, more on that later.
Later, yes.
So, her introductory chapter is Chapter 13. When they pulled up into the driveway and Daniel parked his bike, Kaylin then hopped off. "Thank you for bringing me home," she stated as she took off the helmet and handed it back to him. "You're welcome," he replied as he turned off the ignition and removed his helmet from his head, which confused Kaylin. Can I talk to you for a sec?" "Sure, what's on your mind?" she questioned in response. Kaylin allowed him some room to get off the bike, and, when he did so, he placed both helmets on the seat. Then he leaned against the bike and ran a hand through his black hair. She couldn't help but take notice of his caramel-colored bangs, though. She thought they were cool, and wanted to do the same thing, if she could find the courage. She shook these thoughts out of her head, though, and paid close attention to what he had to say. "Listen," he began, as he looked down for a moment, before he looked back into her eyes. "I'm sorry for how I treated you. I was angry, drunk, and itching for a fight. I'm not making excuses for my behavior, as that's all on me, but you're new to the family, and I know you didn't deserve what I did and said to you." Kaylin had tears in her eyes when she heard this apology. Maybe there was something for Daniel after all, some hope. She sensed it was hard for him to own up to his mistakes like this. It was written all over his face. She remained quiet, though, and kept her ears open for him. "We got off on the wrong foot last night, and I don't want my actions to reflect poorly on your view of our family." His breath shook as he looked down again and leaned against his bike. He waited until he could regain control of his emotions. When he looked up, though, Kaling swore that she saw a flicker of water from his intense blue eyes under the driveway lamp. If you can forgive me, and if you're willing, I'd like a do-over. Kaling wanted to say something, but then Daniel looked down at the ground again and shook his head. I'm sorry. It's hard for me to talk like this, he continued, as he now brought his fingers up to his eyes, as if he was trying to stop the tears. I don't know why, but when I look you in the eyes, you remind me so much of Jacob. Based on what Matthew and Vanessa already told her about their late brother, Kaylin took this to be a compliment, and she somehow knew Daniel needed a hug. She wrapped her arms around him, which stunned him at first. After a few moments, though, he slowly wrapped his arms around her as well. You're right. We did get off on the wrong foot. I judged you too harshly, and I'm so sorry for my part in last night, too. I can't blame you for that, though. Not after the hell you've been through before you came to us. Halen pulled away and looked up into Daniel's eyes. Yeah, I kind of overheard you talking to Matt last night. I didn't mean to. I just couldn't sleep, and I was kind of already sitting by the open windows when you two started chatting the night away. Kaylin was at a loss for words. Trust doesn't come easily for people like us. She knew where this conversation was headed, so she knew what to say now. No, it doesn't. But I know I can trust you. You've got a heart of gold, Daniel, or you wouldn't have done what you did for me tonight, with making sure I was safe and all. Now it was Daniel who became speechless. May I ask why you don't show your true, authentic side more often? Daniel remained silent for a good minute, though Keeling seemed patient while waiting for a response from him. Then he spoke up. You may, but I'm not sure I'm comfortable with answering that right now. Kaylin nodded before she replied. Trust. I get it. I'm new here, and you still have to see for yourself if I'm worthy of yours. I'll do whatever I can to earn it, though. Why? Daniel inquired. Kaylin stepped even closer to Daniel now, and their faces were mere inches from one another. Because I can see you for who you are, Daniel. In here. Kaylin then placed her hand over his heart. I want to get to know this person. Forgive me if I'm stepping out of line here, but I can see that you're struggling with something. I don't know what it is, but you don't have to hide from me. I understand if it's too complicated and messy to talk about at a time like this. We can talk about it when you're ready. And if you want, we can keep it between us. I promise I won't judge you for it because I'm in your corner. Daniel could barely handle her words. He stepped away from her and the bike as he tried to look away from her. My God, you even talk like him. Kaylin knew he referred to his brother. Daniel's voice changed on him, though. She heard the tears. Is that good? Or bad? Kaylin inquired with caution. I don't know, Daniel said as he crouched down to the ground and buried his face in his hand. Kaylin knew by the way he reacted that she'd unsettled him. I'm sorry if I've upset you, she apologized. You didn't. Daniel stood up again, though he stood frozen for a few moments before he sighed and turned around to face her once more. It's just that Jacob once told me pretty much the same thing you're telling me now. It's like you're tapped into... I don't even know what to call it. All I know is it's freaking me out. Kaylin didn't know what to say to this. Something tells me that I can trust you. I can't shake it. And I can't ignore it. But the thing is, It grew silent between them for a good minute as Daniel folded his arms across his chest. He studied his new foster sister while their eyes remained locked in an intense gaze. Kaylin felt awkward, but Daniel just couldn't pull his eyes away from her. Not ready? She interjected. Her question distracted him from his internal thoughts, though he gave a simple nod as his response. No worries, she continued, as she approached him and smiled once more. It will be a conversation for another day. Just know that I promise I won't judge you when you're ready to talk. And I know a promise means something to you, or you wouldn't have brought it up so many times as you did on the beach. Promises mean something to me too. My word is my honor. Yeah? Kaylin nodded, and this made Daniel feel better. Even as freaky as it was, hearing her words brought him comfort. And the world felt like it wasn't as heavy on his shoulders tonight. Daniel hated how he didn't get to take his chances on growing his bond with Jacob before Jacob succumbed to his disease. He had to wonder, though, if perhaps Kaylin was his second chance. She was very much like Jacob, where she had a magnetic personality that Daniel knew would be hard for him to escape, though he wasn't sure he wanted to, not this time. She took him by complete surprise tonight in her words and actions. In that case, allow me to promise you that you have nothing to be afraid of when it comes to Doc. Kaylin knew he referred to Dr. Dunner, though she remained quiet. He's one of the greatest doctors in his field, but he's an even better man, and the best father any of us could ask for. Just as she could see through him, she realized that Daniel could see through her as well. Fresh tears had formed in her eyes as she heard the statement of reassurance. I say that because I know you saw him get physical with me last night, Daniel continued. And based on what I've heard from your conversation with Matt, I can see how Doc's interaction with me may cause further trust issues. Like I said before, I don't want my behavior to influence your opinion of our family negatively. I hope that you'll believe me when I say that the Dunners are all really good people. We truly hit the lottery with them. Thank you, Daniel, Kaylin replied with a smile of appreciation as she wiped away her tears before they fell. That means a lot to me. Daniel mirrored her smile with a nod, though he now looped an arm around her shoulders. Come on, we should get you inside. Alice was in the middle of putting her long, soft brown hair into a bun when she saw the front door open. She was confused when Kaylin walked in with Daniel by her side. Aren't you supposed to be at the beach with Matt? She inquired. He ditched her for Jen. So I brought her home. You brought her home on your bike? Alice asked, almost in an angry tone. Yes, but I could have just left her to walk back here alone with a bunch of drunken idiots prowling the streets. When the brown eyes of her foster mother gazed hard at Daniel, Kaylin sensed that Alice wasn't pleased at all with Daniel, and when Daniel started trailing his statement, she added something of her own to say. I wanted to leave, and he promised that he'd be safe on his bike. Alice's eyes lifted at her new foster daughter's words. Then she turned her eyes back to her adopted son. You can relax, Alice. I know you know I wouldn't really let her walk the streets alone on a party night. Alice glared at Daniel for a moment before she then softened her gaze. Well, thank you for bringing her home. You're welcome, Daniel said with respect as he looked over at Kaylin. Hey, do you want to see a movie tomorrow night? We could also catch the sunset after. I promise I'll drive a real vehicle this time. Kaylin was glad to know that Daniel was still so sweet with her, and that he actually seemed interested in hanging out with her instead of just being her bodyguard. On the other hand, Alice was in pure shock at Daniel's actions and words tonight. He was kind and respectful for a change. Sure, Kaylin replied with a soft smile. All right, cool. You ladies have a good night then, and I'll see you tomorrow, Princess, Daniel answered. Oh, and I know that I haven't officially said this before, but, welcome to the family. It's been a pleasure getting to know you. Kaylin now knew that Daniel wouldn't stop calling her that. After the way things turned out between the pair, she had a feeling that it turned into a friendly nickname. The pleasure's mine. Good night. Night. Both women watched as Daniel left, and then Alice turned to her new foster daughter. Princess. Inside joke was Kayling's simple response as she ran a hand through her long chocolate brown hair in nervousness. So, you two are getting along rather well then? I guess so, Kayling replied. He was nice to me on the beach. I can tell he guards his heart well, though. Alice knew this to be true. Daniel very rarely showed a soft side, like tonight. If he continues to act like this with you around, maybe you'll be the one to turn those walls into bridges, she said. Oh, and about Matthew. Don't punish him for ditching me. I have a feeling he was trying to match me up with Alex. So far, I like Alex, and we have a breakfast date on Wednesday. Ooh, Alex is quite the catch. Good choice, sweetheart, Alice replied. Oh, how was work? Work was great. Max said that after training, I'd be making $1 more than everyone else. Alice instantly nodded. That's great, honey. Keep that to yourself, though, or your other coworkers will be jealous. Kaylin nodded in acknowledgement. So, what are you up to for the rest of the night? Kaylin knew Alice wanted to spend some time with her. I'm up for a movie, she suggested. All right, well, why don't you select a movie and I'll go make the popcorn, Alice suggested. Kaylin did as Alice asked, and then when Alice returned with the popcorn, both ladies sat down on the couch in the den and watched a romance comedy. When the movie ended, Matthew rushed in through the front door, turned on the lights, and both ladies saw the sheer panic in his dark brown eyes until he saw that Kaylin was home. Oh, thank God you're here, Kay, he exclaimed with relief as he shut the front door behind him and stepped into the den. I couldn't get a hold of Alex, and I couldn't find you. I'm so sorry I ditched you. I swear I'll make it up to you. That's okay, and I forgive you, though. Though you can make it up to me by keeping me off the schedule for Wednesday morning. I have a date with Alex, Kaylin replied with a smile. Not a problem at all, Matthew said. And then he turned to his mother. Mom, can you please make sure that you get Kay's cell phone when you two go shopping tomorrow? Oh, don't you worry, I will. As for you, Matthew, I better not hear about you ditching your sister again, regardless of the reason behind it. Or your college funds are being cut off for a semester, whether you remain on the dean's list or not. Matthew knew not to mess with his mother, so he nodded his head in silence.
Ooh, Matthew's in trouble. That is such a good chapter. Oh my gosh, I got goosebumps. I love it.
Yeah? Awesome.
Yes. So, I wanted to know a little bit more about Daniel. Could you tell us one thing that only you know about him that's not in the book?
That's a good question. So, Daniel Denner has a small part of me that we both kind of keep to ourselves, and he has a small but significant piece of my past as his own.
I could see that, knowing you. Yeah, I could see that very much. So, a real good question that I like to ask is, are any of your characters based off of real people? Let's hear the juicy gossip on this one.
Ooh, okay. You're kind of making me blush a little on this one. Well, I would have to say Matthew. Matthew used to take after this kid in high school named Matthew. He had graduated a few years before me. He was so cute, and I was really, really shy, so I never actually talked to him. And he probably doesn't even know that I exist today. It's whatever, though. I don't care. After I decided to take Finding Dakota seriously for publication, I kind of revamped Matthew's character, completely.
Right.
I gave him a whole new family name, appearance, and identity. And I dare say he's even hotter than he was before.
Yes.
I mean, he kind of has this exotic Hawaiian surfer boy look. I mean, whoo! Mm-hmm. And the only reason that I kept his first name is because I always name a character in every book of mine, Matthew Christopher James, because that is the name that I would have chosen if I had a son. It would be the name of my firstborn son. And I've always loved the names Matthew and James, though the part about Christopher is in honor of my late baby brother, who died of cancer. So Christopher's name is, in every story that I write. I guess you could call this as my signature as an author.
Yeah.
Matthew Christopher James. But yeah, I digress. Matthew was originally based on a real person in the early days of the first rough draft, but he's totally his own person now.
Well, that's good. I do, as a person who's read it, I love Matthew. He is an amazing character. In the beginning, like, you instantly fall for him. Kind of like Daniel. Like, you get that vibe of, like, the mysterious bad boy, but, like, there's so much more beneath him. Like, he's so much more than what he appears to be.
Absolutely. And anybody listening to this will come to, when they read Finding Dakota, you'll find that Matthew tries really hard he tries to put his best foot forward, but he's got secrets about him and a dark past about him, and of course you'll figure that out as the story unfolds.
Yes, definitely. So I know that recently we've discussed how characters come to us first, like they talk to us. So I've been wondering, which character came to you first, Denver or Dakota?
Ooh, that's a good one. Believe it or not, they both came to me at about the same time. I have an older brother who was put up for adoption as a baby a couple years before I was even born, so I kind of grew up without him in my life. I knew about him from an early age, but it was a closed adoption, so my mama and I didn't have any information to find him. And she was afraid of him being angry for giving him up for adoption, but at the same time, she really did do what was best for him because she recognized that she wasn't ready to be a mother yet. And I tried my best to find him in every which way that I possibly could, but he ended up finding us. He found us, interestingly enough, through MySpace. So even though the adoption was closed, he still had access to that information on his side if his adopted parents would have given him the information. And they did. So he had all that information and basically how he found us. And so I kind of wanted to write a story about a brother and sister reunited after having grown up without each other. However, Denver did technically tell me his side of the story first.
Okay, so Denver popped up first. Okay, I could see that. The older one,
Yep. He's the older one who, he remembers the tragedy of what happened in his early life. He remembers being separated from his sister, so it would make sense that he would tell his story first.
Exactly. Which character do you think has changed most since the first draft of the book?
Hands down, this is Daniel Denner.
Yes. I can see that. Again, as someone who's read it, like, you see such an evolution through not only Daniel, but Kaylin and Denver, but it's the hugest in Daniel. Like, from first chapter to last chapter, you're just like, wait, is this still the same guy from chapter 1? Like, is it really him? Like, I cried at the end because of his evolution. It's amazing.
I know, I love it. And his evolution came to me at, like, the last
Second.
It surprised me. I'm like, where did this come from?
Yep. So, what do you hope that readers will take away from the story Finding Dakota?
Well, I first wrote this when I was a teenager, before I found my older brother. The idea was to hang on to the hope that someday I would find him. Well, he found me 2 years into writing this, and now I don't need that hope because my prayers were answered, and he's been in my life ever since, but maybe somebody else out there still needs the hope of finding their own family.
Yeah, that's very true. So how long did it take you to write this, as from, like, beginning to end?
Well, that's a good question. I'm gonna be honest, the original rough draft that I wrote, I think I started this about 2005, 2006. I never actually, I had an ending in mind, but I never, this is one of those stories that I just love so much that I didn't want it to end, so I never had the courage to write out the ending.
Yep.
And then and I wasn't ready to share it with the world. And now that I'm ready to share it with the world, I finally have the ending. So I would say, see, what is it? I started it in 2005, and I just finished it.
Yeah.
Officially.
Oh my
So
goodness.
revamped the whole first draft, even though it wasn't finished, and then
Just went on from there.
yep, I think I literally just finished it a couple
Yeah.
weeks ago.
Yeah. I was one of the most honored people who got to read it, and I loved it. I reread it, gosh, like 3 times at least. And it's a funny thing too, because like I'm the type of person who, when I'm reading something that I really love, or even watching a TV series, as I'm getting to the end, I take a long time to watch and or read the last chapters.
I
But
know.
I couldn't not read it. I was like, I have to find out. Because there was a space in time when you were trying to finish something else that you kind of put Finding Dakota on the back burner. And so it wasn't until recently I was like, hey, what's up with this? I want to read this. What are you doing? Stop keeping me from my
Well,
Daniel.
thank you. Thank you. Your eagerness, your excitement for it kind of helped me finish the last few chapters. I have what, like 3 chapters to go. It was gonna be one, but then it threw out
Yeah.
into 3 chapters.
Yeah, it
I'm
was
like,
gonna
you
be
know what?
one, and then you were like, wait, but I have to add another, I have to add another. And I was like, yes, but at the same time, in my heart, I was like, it has to come to an end at some point. What is she doing?
Yep. But it came to an end at a perfect,
It
perfect
did.
point.
It did. Now you just need to start writing the next one so I can read that.
Oh, I already have, like, I think the first quarter of it already.
Okay, give me the chapters. Alrighty, so moving on. Was Finding Dakota ever named something different?
Yes, actually, its original title was set to be Finding Kaylee, but I realized early on that my readers might mistake her as the same character from another upcoming novel that's called Kaylee's Heart, which has a character named Kaylee O'Callaghan. There are two different Kayleys, so Kaylee Sky Malone of Finding Kaylee became Dakota Sky Malone slash Kaylin Marie Delgo instead, and so respectively the book's title changed with her name to Finding Dakota.
Yeah, I could see how that would be like mixed up. They might think that Finding Kaylee and Kaylee's Heart would be like connected somehow.
Right. But I do want to say, as a quick thing here, because I did mention earlier that Matthew Christopher James is in every single book of mine.
Mm-hmm.
Not the same person.
No,
Can
no,
tell everybody
completely
who's
different.
listening to this and who reads my stuff, always a different personality. So
Yeah,
what
he's
might be
just
a
there.
pastor in one book is a child in another book.
Yeah.
And, you know, so
Yes,
there's
exactly.
the heads up on that.
Yes. So I always find personally that writing a book or a story changes something like deep inside you. What would you say changed in you in writing Finding Dakota?
Ooh, okay. So writing Daniel's character and giving him a voice in the story has helped me to understand myself better. He's actually helped me to become more accepting of who I am as a person, and that it's okay to be different. That I'm loved no matter what happens in life, no matter the mistakes that I make.
Yeah.
So I would have to definitely say Daniel changed me now. In the original script, in the original manuscript, the first rough draft, he didn't really have a voice. He was just kind of a
There.
background character.
Well, I mean, as a person who's read the final, I'm surprised it's not Finding Daniel. Oh my goodness.
Right?
With how much, like, it's funny, it's Finding Dakota, but everything is about Daniel in a weird sense. And not to give anything away, but Daniel's definitely more than just a backside character, for sure.
Oh, yeah. He has a very, 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 very important, vital role to Dakota, or Kaylin, and her brother, her long lost brother, Denver.
Yes,
So, but
definitely.
I'm not spoiling it. Y'all are just gonna
No.
have to find out.
I know, I have to catch myself because I know everything, like, I don't want to give something away.
It gives me the goosebumps.
Yes, it does me too. Okay, so starting chapter 16, this is Denver's introductory episode. So here you go, Jenna.
All right. Chapter 16. When Denver found himself on the boardwalk, and people had realized he was back in town, he received many eager hellos. Instead of staying out of the sun, Denver stepped inside the Sunshine Smoothie shop. He stood still in the doorway and examined how busy the place was. Once he saw a few tables were available, he then headed up to the empty counter and waited to be served. A pretty red-headed girl sanitizing the counters inside the employee zone had noticed him and quickly stopped what she was doing. She then walked over to the cash register and beamed a new, enthusiastic smile towards Denver. "Hi, I'm Amber. How may I serve you today, sir?" Before now, Denver never believed in love at first sight. Now, he wasn't so sure about that. "Amber, huh? I've never seen you here before. Are you new around here?" he asked. Amber was pleasantly surprised by how observant he was. "Actually, I am. I moved here about 2 weeks ago," she exclaimed. "What do you think of Nova's Bay so far?" Denver asked with excitement. "I'm a big town girl, so I'm still getting used to the idea of living in a small town. It's sunny and warm here, though," Amber said with what appeared to be an expression of peace. "Yeah, sometimes the small population gets to me. All the locals around here know each other. Sometimes I just want my privacy, you know?" Denver explained. "Oh, I know. I'm from Manhattan, so I'm used to everyone minding their own business. My father makes business trips all over the world, though, and all over the country." "He thought that this place would bring me humility," she replied. Denver understood the feeling behind what she was saying. "Yeah, this place tends to do that. Even though everybody knows everybody, everyone here is pretty laid back. This place is beautiful and so serene. Except for a few mischievous drunken idiots, our crime rate is actually pretty low compared to other towns around us." "That's what my father said," Amber said. Denver couldn't help but mirror her gorgeous smile. "Has anyone had the luxury of showing you around town yet?" he asked. "Actually, no. My father assumes that all I am is a shopaholic, like my sister, so he has his chauffeur drop me off at the mall after I get out of here, and he expects me to be standing outside the mall by a certain time for my chauffeur to pick me up." "Tell him you want to hang around the boardwalk," Denver replied. "I'll do the honors of showing you around town." Amber's smile changed. "I can do that. I'll text him on my break, which is actually coming up in a few minutes." Denver loved the smile on her face. He couldn't help but fall head over heels for her. Her straight, blunt-cut bangs hung down to her eyelashes, and every time she blinked over her chocolate-brown eyes, the tips of her bangs would move with the fluttering of her top lashes. To Denver, her eyes twinkled with pure joy and added with her lips curling into the most prominent, whitest smile. Denver sensed she was just as much into him as he was her. He could hardly wait to show her around town. Denver then gave Amber his order for a blueberries and cream supreme smoothie, and after he gave her the money for it, their hands accidentally touched. Neither of them had moved for a moment, and Amber couldn't help but mirror Denver's cheeky smile. Denver was the first to pull away when his cell phone rang, though. After he saw the caller ID, he knew it was Mrs. Knight, his adopted mother. He tapped the ignore button and put his phone back in the left front pocket of his tan cargo shorts. "My mother always calls at the worst moments," he said with an awkward smile. "I apologize." "Oh, you're fine," Amber replied. "So, can I take you out for outside?" Denver asked. "Absolutely. I'll see you in a bit," she spoke, as she put his money in her cash register and turned around to finish what she was doing before she served him. When he saw that she went back to cleaning the counters, he turned around and walked outside with his smoothie. He then returned Mrs. Knight's call, and she immediately answered the first ring. "Denver, honey, where are you? And why did you ignore my call? I know you're back in town, and I haven't seen you in forever." "Sorry, I was in the middle of something. I was going to call you right back," Denver replied. "What's up?" What's up? I want to see you. Where are you? I'm at the boardwalk, standing outside of S&S, Denver answered as he now took a sip of his smoothie. Okay, great. I'll be there in 20 minutes. I'll call you when I'm there. Denver knew she wouldn't be satisfied until she saw him, but she could be so nosy sometimes, though Denver supposed it could be her motherly instinct to be so concerned about him. Okay, I'll be here. I might end up sitting in the sand if you don't see me over by the shop. All right, honey. I'll see you soon, Mrs. Knight stated. Before Denver could say anything else, she disconnected the call, and so did he. Hey there, handsome, exclaimed a voice from behind. Denver turned around to find Amber now standing before him, smiling wide, and he couldn't help but mirror her smile. Hey there. I've cleared things up with my father. My shift will end in 2 hours once I go back inside. Then you're my tour guide and chauffeur for the evening, she said. Where do you live, if I may ask? Denver asked with curiosity. Over on Sunset Boulevard, she answered. You? Denver immediately realized this chick came from money, as do all the residents living on Sunset Boulevard. It was part of the Novus Bay's wealthy neighborhood, and it also wasn't a 2-block walk either. Oh, you'll find out. My car's parked at home, and we'll need it to get you home tonight. I have my own place in a seaside condominiums complex. Oh, so then you're just a few blocks away. My chauffeur, Rinaldo, he drives me by that place every day when he picks me up or drops me off around here. I think it's a very nice place. Yes, it is, Denver agreed. Oh, before I forget, let me give you my cell phone number. Oh, yes, Amber said as she now handed Denver her phone. Here. Denver also gave his phone number to Amber, and they each put their cell phone numbers on each other's phone. When they handed each other's phones back, they each couldn't help but feel giddy inside. Can I be honest? Amber asked, which only got enough from Denver as he stared into her eyes. This is the first time I've truly been excited since before I found out I was moving here. Really? Denver replied. Well, I promise you'll love this place. I'll start you off with dinner at Luna's. You can be casual or fancy in your attire, so what you're wearing will be perfect. Luna's is the best restaurant in town. Cool. The only place that you don't have to show me around is Seaside Shopping District. I've spent enough time there to be bored with it. Don't get me wrong, I love shopping as most women do, but it's not on my list of priorities and interests. Both Denver and Amber laughed softly. You know, now that I think of it, with all the things around here, I might just spread them out so that I have an excuse to, see you on other days. Amber smirked at Denver, and then she spoke up as she put her left hand on her waist. Am I to assume that I'm not taking valuable time with you away from some girlfriend? She asked. Denver liked where Amber went with this, and he also smirked at her. If I had a girlfriend, I wouldn't have been so quick to give you my number, and I would have just told you that I'd see you around, Denver answered. Aw, how very respectful of you. Denver couldn't stop smiling. He even started to blush. Thank you, Denver replied. Am I also to assume I have no competition? It is safe to assume that, yes. Especially since I've never really been involved with anyone on, a serious level of commitment. Denver was pleased to hear this. It meant there was no real jealous ex-boyfriends that would mysteriously appear at any one given moment. Are you looking for any commitments? Denver asked curiously. Well, I haven't intentionally been looking, but I wouldn't be opposed to one, so long as the right person came along, Amber answered. How about you? Well, since I'm settling down for my travels for a while, I wouldn't mind finding a nice steady commitment, but I don't just go for anyone. She has to be worth my time. Amber liked Denver's response. Nice! I must agree with you on that. I loathe wasting my time on and my energy with people who are not worth it. Well, then if that's the case, I'll try not to waste yours, Denver replied. When Denver said that, as he bowed before her, all Amber could do was blush and bring out her pearly white smile. Denver? Both Amber and Denver turned to the voice that just called his name. A girl nearly as tall as him, stood before them. Her long, fiery red hair glistened under the sun, and her intense green eyes twinkled in joy. When Denver realized who it was that stood before him, his face lit up, and he spoke out in excitement. "Rory!" Denver exclaimed in excitement, as he pulled his 16-year-old adopted sister into a big bear hug. "Hey, why didn't you call me when you got back into town? I had to hear the news from Mom, who in turn heard it from Gabe at the grocery store." "I'm sorry," Denver apologized, as he pulled from his hug, but kept his eyes locked on Rory. "I just wanted a low-key return until I settled back in." "Well, next time, you better speak down to me, huh? You know I miss you like crazy when you're gone." Rory then caught a glimpse of Denver's newly grown, soft brown hair. She couldn't help but rub a hand through it quickly. "Hey, I see your hair's back." He couldn't help but chuckle at her comment about his hair. He avoided that topic, though, because he didn't want to scare Amber away with any mention of his health so soon. "I know, but I'm done with my search, so that won't happen again, I promise," Denver replied. "Oh, Rory, I'd like you to meet Amber. Amber, this is my adopted sister, Rory." Now that Amber knew who this was, her smile returned. She even extended her hand for a warm introduction. "Hi, I'm Amber." Rory mirrored her expression and welcomed Amber's handshake. "It's always a pleasure to meet a friend of my brother's, Amber." "I'm Rory," she replied before she turned to Denver again. "So, did I hear you right? Is your search for Dakota over? Did you find her? Or are you giving up?" Who's Dakota?" Amber had to ask. "She's my biological sister. We were separated in social services before Rory and her parents adopted me," Denver explained as he looked Amber in the eye sincerely. "Our parents," Rory corrected. "Sorry, our parents," Denver repeated as he turned to Rory. To answer your question, it's complicated." Rory almost couldn't believe this. "I've never known you to quit." "Do you mean you're taking a break, or quitting altogether, or is the search over because you found her?" Amber asked. "It's complicated," Denver answered as he smiled over at Amber when he met her gaze. "A story for another time, perhaps." "Ah, well, I can't wait to hear more," Amber exclaimed. "I, however, need to get back to work. I'll see you back here at 6. "Can't wait," Denver replied. "Have fun." "I'll try, but the real fun doesn't start till 6, Amber replied with a wink, before heading back inside Sunshine Smoothies. When Amber disappeared inside the smoothie shop, Rory spoke up. "Wow," she exclaimed as she looked up at her big brother. "She's a little much, a little too high maintenance for you, don't you think?" "No, she's perfect," Denver answered with a goofy grin. Rory saw that Denver fell hard for Amber a little too fast for her liking, but he could take care of himself, she knew. Before she could say anything else, Denver snapped out of his trance and looked to Rory with a serious expression on his face. "So, what's up?" he asked. "Nothing much, just waiting for Mom to call me back. She wants the 4 of us to spend some time together. Us and CJ. Denver rolled his eyes in annoyance. "I know, she's very needy sometimes, but she says she has something important to tell us, and based on the way she said it, it kind of makes me uncomfortable," Rory added. Before Denver could say or think anything else, his cell phone rang again. When he took out his cell phone, he saw that it was Mrs. Knight calling, and he answered this time without tapping the ignore button. "Hey, sweetie, change of plans. Something came up at work," she stated before he could get a word in. "Do you want me to let Rory know? She ran into me, and now she's standing right outside of S&S. "Yes, please, thank you. Let's talk tomorrow, okay? Will you be home then?" "I don't have any plans for tomorrow, so you could come by around noon." "All right, I'll see you then. I love you." "Love you too, Mom. See you tomorrow," Denver said as he hung up and looked over at Rory. "Plans are canceled. Something came up at work." "I figured that. It's been happening a lot lately. Well, then I'm going to turn my plans with Nathan back on. I'll see you later, big brother." Rory began to walk away, but Denver extended his left arm straight out in front of her. "Who's Nathan?" Denver interrogated, as he caught his sister's green-eyed gaze. "He's my boyfriend." "Why?" "Oh, wait, you weren't here when he and I made it official and got Mom and Dad's approval. He moved in next door to us. He's very respectable and responsible. He'll be my study buddy in math and science when September comes. He's super smart and is currently taking college math and science courses. Like, I'm seriously jealous that it comes to him so easily. But at the same time, I'm happy that I now have a free tutor. Denver knew Rory wouldn't lie to him to make a boyfriend of hers more likable to him, and he kind of sensed that the boy was a total nerd. Okay, I better be meeting him soon, Denver replied. Mom and Dad are having this big barbecue picnic tomorrow for dinner. Nathan and his entire family are coming over. You're welcome to join us if you want to meet him tomorrow, that is. You know what? Count me in, Denver exclaimed. Rory's face lit up in total surprise and in excitement. Really? I'll tell Dad to thaw out a couple of steaks for you then, she exclaimed. Denver didn't join very many night family events because he never felt like he belonged with them, and the feeling of not belonging somewhere always made him feel uncomfortable. So, when Denver did join the nights for even just a little fun, Rory would go crazy in her eagerness, and the energy she put out always put Denver at ease. He was closer to Rory than anyone else in the family, and he knew Rory loved him and looked up to him, as if he was her true blood brother. Excellent. I'll see you tomorrow. Have fun with your man. Oh, but don't have too much fun. Rory only rolled her eyes at what Denver had hinted. Later, Gator, was her only response as she now attempted to walk off. Hey, wait, he called as he brought her into his arms again. This time, though, he placed his head on top of hers. I know I don't say this enough, but I hope you know that I love you, kiddo. I'm incredibly thankful to have you in my life and to call you my little sister. Rory enjoyed this extra special hug, and Denver's words meant a lot to her. I love you too, big brother, she replied, as she gave him an extra squeeze. Keep Saturday open. Let's do something special with CJ over the weekend. Just the three of us. Sure, we'll coordinate with Mom and have you guys spend the night at my place, and then we can take it from there and do whatever you two want to do. Excellent, Rory answered, as she pulled from the hug and met her brother's gaze for one last time. See you tomorrow, then. See ya. Denver watched as she walked past him and quickly minded her business when she pulled out her cell phone. Denver also decided to head off to the beach for some downtime. Naturally, people recognized him, welcomed him back to town, and they had short but enjoyable conversations with him. When 6 o'clock came around, though, Denver waited patiently for Amber, and he lit up when he finally saw her walk out of the smoothie shop. Hey there, beautiful, he exclaimed when she approached him. Hi there, handsome. I don't know about you, but I'm so ready for dinner. Denver looped Amber's right arm around him and left, and he smiled over at her. How was work? Boring to the end. Well, it's a good thing we're about to have a good evening, huh? Denver inquired. You know it. Alright, let's get going, Denver suggested as he led the way to Luna's restaurant.
Okay, so I have to say, Luna's restaurant, I love it. I know it's not for me, but being Luna Willows, gotta love that.
True, good point. I love it too. I just couldn't, when I made the restaurant, the name actually used to be Mona's restaurant, but I'm like, I'm not feeling it.
Yeah.
So,
unfortunately, people can, take that out of context and, Mona's not a great name for a restaurant.
well, she, now that when you put it like that, I'm really glad I changed the name.
Yeah. So, Denver, oh my goodness, I love him. He is the older brother that every girl wants.
Right, so chill, so laid back, but still protective. You notice what he did with Rory for a moment there when it came to her new boyfriend.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I know that, for me, my brother was basically out of the house. He had had a kid by the time that I was actually dating. But if he would have, if we would have lived in the same state, he would have been the same exact way.
Nice.
And alright, let's see what's up.
My older brother, Jay, he would have been the same way, too. I mean, he is, interestingly enough, like when I was a little girl, like I've known about him like since I was like, how old was I? I found out about him before just a few months. No, I found out right around the time that Christopher passed away. I can't remember if it was before he passed away or if it was, I think it was before he passed away when I went to stay with my aunt. She asked me, what if you could have anything in the world, what would you wish for? And I said, I wish that I had an older brother who was protective of the people that he loves,
Right. Oh.
including me. And then she goes, well, you do have an older brother. So
Yeah.
she's the one who told me about him. And then I went home and told my mom about it, and, yeah, kind of stemmed from there. So that was, so I'd known about him from an early age. So, and then he actually turned out to be exactly what I wished for when I was a little girl. It's crazy, but
That's awesome.
if I would have had him in my life growing up, he'd have been the same way. He'd have been like, wait a minute, you're not going to be going out with my sister without, you break her heart, and you're going to have to go through me kind of thing,
Yep,
So,
definitely. So,
yeah.
Amber too. Amber and Rory, I love them so far. Like, naturally, it's weird. Amber is definitely, I feel like you could say the it girl. She's popular. She's that, the upbeat, the cute, quirky little girl. And, like, I was never drawn to those kind of people when I was, like, in their, like, the high school era. But, like, now, I love her because I feel like she's everything that Denver needs.
Right?
So I think it's like perfect. And Rory, I love how they're like alike in the like happy, positive, like upbeat and everything. I think that hopefully they'll get along in the future. I know, but who knows?
We'll see. We'll see.
Definitely. I'm so glad that we got to do this. I want everybody to read this book. It is amazing. I cannot wait for the next book, honestly.
Like, I'm so excited. I'm honored that I'm honored to be doing that here on this episode. I know that we originally were going to do for this episode a chapter reading of Rachel's voice, but honestly, emotionally speaking, I'm just not ready for that. So I do apologize for everybody in advance who was really expecting and really hoping for me to do the chapter reading of Rachel's voice, because it would have been the perfect way to wrap up September, which would have been, September is the Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, so it would have been perfect to wrap that up with, because Rachel's voice is about the disease that killed my brother and one of my early childhood friends, Rachel. But we'll go into that, in the actual episode for it. But, yeah, emotionally, I just wasn't quite ready to go into that. I think I would have been crying and stuff, so I'm just not emotionally ready to do that. So we decided to do Finding Dakota instead, because Finding Dakota is officially completed as far as the rough draft is concerned, and it's now undergoing the editing stage, so that'll take a couple of months. So I anticipate that early 2022 is going to be the first book that comes out. So I'm hoping between January and March that it's going to be coming out.
Okay, well, that's exciting, and I think everybody understands, like, opening up about what you're going to be opening up about is extremely difficult. I could never imagine it. Like, me and my brother bicker all the time, but I couldn't imagine, like, losing him. I'm actually getting teary right now. I couldn't imagine, like, losing him at a young age. I couldn't, like, he was there, and I needed him to be there. So I, coming from, a sister's point of view, like, deeply am sorry for you because I couldn't imagine it. So you do that when you feel like you can, and we will make it a great episode.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yes, of course. So we will cut it here. This is the end.
So I do want to take the time for the people listening to this episode. Thank you for listening to my chapter reading. I apologize if I stumbled a little bit. This is honestly my very first chapter reading, like, ever. Honestly, I have never done a chapter reading before, so
You did
maybe
great.
I'm nervous, and thank you.
Yes.
So I hope everybody will be able to forgive me on a couple of the spots that I stumbled, and but at the same time, I also hope that you all really enjoyed the chapter reading, and I hope you'll follow the journey with the publication for Finding Dakota, and of course, obviously, you'll see updates on my actual website and my Facebook page, my Instagram. So feel free to follow me on all of that, and I'll just keep you guys updated with Finding Dakota.
And whenever everything gets more official, we will definitely be posting the links in the description to purchase the amazing book.
Oh yeah, I'm so excited. I really am. Like, to finally get this book finished, and now it's entering a whole new stage. I'm just beside myself. Really, whew.
Yeah.
All right, so well, that's all the time that we have for today. Thank you all so much for joining us on this week's conversation at The Flow of Ink.
We appreciate each and every one of you. We hope to see you join us for next week's episode, where we'll be doing a detailed book review on Linger, the second book in the Shiver series by Maggie Stiefvater.
And if you have any questions for us about this episode or otherwise, please drop a comment below, and we promise to address it in our Q&A portion at the beginning of next week's episode.
Also, don't forget to hit that bell icon and subscribe to our channel so you get notified for every episode we post. Again, thank you so much for joining us here at The Flow of Ink, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Ciao for now.
Bye.